Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Democratic barrage against Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett is underway. Liberal lawmakers began the interrogation against Trump's pick to the court on Monday. Today, I'll break down all the political games in the left's efforts to defraud 2016 voters that place Trump and Republicans in power in both the White House and the Senate. Get ready. Give me 10 minutes. I'm about to blow your mind with what Biden and his socialistic squad has planned with just 3 weeks ahead of the election. This is Eric Wright, and you are listening to the Closet Conservative Podcast. Despite high praise from the American Bar Association, America's largest lawyers group, Senate Democrats on Capitol Hill positioned themselves to poison the process to nominate Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court as hearings began on Monday. A substantial majority of the standing committee determined that Judge Barrett is well qualified. And in fact, for the past 67 years, the American Bar Association Standing Committee on the Federal Judiciary has conducted comprehensive peer reviews of the professional qualifications of federal judicial nominees, including all 34 U.S. Supreme Court nominees. However, now liberal Democrats and their hell-bent efforts to poison the court and the American people's minds overshadow independent reviews. You see, for the left, they know best. But I don't know about you. Democratic VP candidate and run-amok Chuck Schumer have hardly or continue to have had the best intentions for the American people. Unless, of course, they personally profit. If you recall, Chuck Schumer has routinely criticized conservative Christians. And now, with Amy Coney Barrett's nomination to the Supreme Court considered a Republican lockup, old Chucky is up to his old games of deception and political parlor tricks. What's concerning is that old Chuck personally believes that it is acceptable to voice his Jewish faith to the public to affect policy. If you recall, in 2010, during Israel's blockade of the Gaza Strip, Chuck Schumer stated the Palestinian people still don't believe in a Jewish state, in a two-state solution. They don't believe in our Torah. They don't believe in King David. So, they don't think it is our land. But now, with Barrett getting the nod from Trump and Senate Republicans, for Schumer, faith has no place, or at least not on the Supreme Court. Even more, if confirmed, old Chucky is requesting that the then Justice Barrett recuse herself from any case regarding the Affordable Care Act or the 2020 election results that may require guidance or judicial review. On Sunday night, Schumer promised that Democrats would not supply quorum for votes to advance Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation effort, essentially meaning that Democrats will boycott the votes in any attempt to stall the confirmation ahead of the election. Folks, these are the political games of liberal Democratic lawmakers. The left is completely disallowing voters' wishes of 2016, claiming now that only 2020 votes should matter. That is, of course, should voters stand with and behind Biden in the ballot box in November. Schumer called the Barrett confirmation process illegitimate, dangerous, and unpopular Sunday as Democrats ramped up their rhetoric ahead of the Senate Judicial Committee hearings. Have no fear, folks. Thankfully, Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell understands the liberal monstrous mentality and can pull a page from his political playbook to vote on a discharge resolution that would remove the responsibility of considering the committee's Barrett nomination, allowing Mitch McConnell and the Republican Senate to call the nomination for a full vote. The fact of the matter is this, folks. It is fourth and long, and liberals are gearing up for their version of a Hail Mary. Unfortunately for them, they are out of talent, out of luck, and point blank out of time. Ultimately, despite their political theater and attempts to publicly pervert and community castrate Amy Coney Barrett, there is absolutely nothing they can do to keep the nomination from moving forward. Checkmate, Chucky. But, ladies and gentlemen, we must not turn a blind eye to the geriatric games of Joe Biden and his communist minions in Congress. Should the Harris-Biden administration somehow become a reality, and should Republicans relinquish control of the White House and the Senate, make no mistake, Democrats will railroad socialism down the throats of all Americans. If you follow history, you know that all totalitarian regimes, before becoming legitimized and taking control, take an iron grip on three things, folks: education, the media, and finally, government. Folks, since the Vietnam War, liberalism has cancerously cannibalized our nation's educational system. The goal? To churn out as many communist sheep as possible. Ask no questions, pay no consequences, as long as you fall into line and socialistic submission. Ladies and gentlemen, liberal thought has invaded our liberties, and now we have allowed these out-of-touch asinine clowns to control our thoughts and our processes. The last effort to cement these United States of America under a banner of communism is to control the courts. And in that, liberal Democrats can and would hold power on the interpretation of their laws. Folks, I cannot begin to beg you to understand what is in store for our nation if Biden becomes president in November. My words are not to instill fear. No, they are to attempt to bring logic to the lunacy of the radical left in this country. Chuck Schumer is the head of the snake of the socialistic swamp of the United States Senate. And like his old pal Pelosi in the House, Chucky has been wading in the waters of the D.C. swamp for way too long. In fact, for a generation, he has polluted our nation's political system. The Democratic Party may be screaming that they are for change, but I'm here to tell you that isn't the case. And if you don't believe me, take a look at who is heading their ticket. The combined years in office of their hopeful president and Joe Biden, Speaker of the House Pelosi, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is 101 years. That's right, over 100 years between the three of them, and nothing but Democratic-led destruction has blazed their political paths. Folks, let me be clear. Lifelong liberal politicians despise President Trump. It has been that hatred since even before his election that has led to their hate-filled hack job against him. You see, Donald Trump doesn't fit into their mold, and why? Because unlike the socialistic rats like Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi acquired while in office, they have not owned a business. They have not been responsible for financial solvency and accountability. No. For generations, they have sucked and bled dry the American dream at the expense of those that they have sworn to protect, and those too gullible to know the difference. Biden, Schumer, and Pelosi prey on the weak and the disenfranchised. Why? Because deep down, they and the Democratic Party know that their base is made up of expendable. That's right, I said it. Do not care about the American people. Instead, they're only in it for them. Democratic leaders like the Hollywood elites and majority of professional athletes could not cut the mustard in the private sector and wouldn't know real, gritty, hard work in the shoes of an assembly line worker or farmer who have been so instrumental to the foundation of our nation's economy. Democratic politicians are vultures, continually picking away at the skin of those in our society who try hard every single day and succeed. But you see, in a socialistic society, people are watered down to weather away in the muck of crap created by the less communistic ideals. Mediocrity rewarded, creativity stifled, and our nation left defenseless and lacking innovation. For far too long, liberals have labeled capitalism as evil. With every passing piece of legislation, Democrats become encouraged and emboldened in their efforts. Suppose somehow Joe Biden and those who are pushing his political buttons still win in November. And in that case, he and they will systematically destroy the Supreme Court of the United States, hellishly conjoining Congress and the courts for one purpose. And what is that? To push their socialistic agenda and destroy the greatest democracy ever created. The time to understand is past. The time for action is upon us. This is Eric Wright, and you've been listening to the Closet Conservative Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast. Please remember to give a 5-star review and share our podcast with your friends. The Closet Conservative Podcast is a production of The Liberty Loft. Copyright The Liberty Loft, 2020. You can find more shows and information on our website, www.thelibertyloft.com, or any of our social media channels.